Well, it's a very good morning from me, and it's a very good morning from him. So, hope everybody is well. Good morning, and welcome to my Monday morning lunchtime live stream. Quite a long title, that isn't it? Really, probably need to look at that title. Any suggestions? Answers on the postcards, please. That's showing my age, is it? Answers on the postcards. Anyway, good weekend was had by all. Football, sports, all good. My football team won. My rugby team lost. I went to the match on Saturday with my son Ewan, and we got beaten, which was pretty depressing, really. But such is life, isn't it? Anyway, let's get on to the subject today. We've got a few things for you to help you as mortgage brokers, mortgage advisors. Really want to sort of give you a couple of ideas to help you. We've got something on the consumer duty for you as well, which is it's rearing its head. You can't get away from it, and it's something to take a look at. We've also got an economic update for you as well, and maybe a little bit of a push for our protection webinar that we're doing on the 3rd of December for free. So that's coming up later. So let's get cracking with some topics, shall we? Let's get into the economy because Rishi and his team. Well, it's not Rishi anymore, is it? Well, Mr. Hunt's doing the autumn statement or mini budget, whatever you want to call it, this week, and it's all been leaked out anyway. Everything gets leaked to the BBC, and it's all about reducing spending and increasing taxation. And they're increasing taxation by a fiscal drag, which sounds pretty awful, doesn't it? Which basically means they're not increasing any of the allowances, so we'll all end up paying more tax. I suppose we've got to pay for the pandemic spending, and we all those people, all that money, that billions that was spent in the pandemic, we've got to pay for it back, haven't we, somewhere along the line? But that's coming up this week. But let's take a quick look at how the economy is going to fare in the next couple of months into next year, which will affect mortgage advisors. I want to show you how it's going to affect you and your trade and what you get up to. So that's really what I want to focus on when I have a look at the session. So we're going to go over to the screens for this one. I'm going to do some visuals, some PowerPoints. So those of you on podcast, you can't see this, but you can certainly hear, and I will narrate it as we go along. So we're talking here about the economic outlook. So let me just throw some slides on the screen for you. So there's my Monday morning live stream slide, which we know and love. And we want to take a look at the UK economic outlook. So let me just press a button and jump on into the screen and say, hi, everybody. We've got the old PowerPoint behind us for those of you that can't see it. A UK economic outlook for you. So, again, we're not economists. We're not predictors. We're not, Rosie Lees with the ball of the future like Martin Lewis has on his show. But we should have a good idea what's going on. It's our job to know that, to be able to narrate the economy, talk to clients about what's happening. Now, the big thing, of course, is recession. I think we're officially in it now. This was the numbers I saw from the BBC website, which shows how the economy has shrunk between July and September. We had the results in last week. Now, as you can see from this lovely graph, we've got economic growth since about 2015 all the way to 2022. Economic growth, of course, is the size of the gross domestic product. In other words, everything that goes on in the UK economy that's legal, of course. Anything underhand doesn't get included. Now, the thing is, though, we've got this terrible growth figures throughout 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, up to 2020. These are like 0.5%, 1% growth. So the UK hasn't had economic growth for a long time. Okay, the pandemic caused a blip. As you can see from the graph there, during lockdown, the UK economy plunged by, 20%? But then pretty much it picked up by about 17% the following quarter. So, and then things went okay. And we had a little bit of a dip there. I think that's the second lockdown at that point there. But things picked up again because we were recovering from lockdown. But then growth started to splutter like an old car in the morning. And then suddenly growth got negligible, and now we're into negative growth by 0.2%. We'll probably do the same for this quarter. So we're officially in a recession. But remember, guys, this is not like a massive recession where GDP will fall dramatically. It'll fall like 0.5%, 0.2% for a while. We'll probably have all of next year. It will trickle downwards, but it's not a massive fall. But it means that we're not growing. It's stagflation, stagnating economy and inflation. And that's the problem that we've got. The government can't do any of the usual kickstart the economy kind of stuff at the moment. Well, they tried, didn't they, in September, but that caused a right old mess, didn't it? So they're going to have to go for austerity and clamping down. So that's the the UK economy, how it looks. Now, the world's doing the same thing. We're not alone. The world is also going into recession. Let's not remember that one as well. So what else is happening? Inflation. Another little graph for you. Inflation, as you can see, in September 22 hit at 10.1%. And it's trickling upwards around that sort of figure at the moment. It might be slightly more, might be slightly less when the inflation figures come in again. So we've got about 10% CPI, Consumer Price Index. Now, the forecast, this is from the great people at the Office of National Statistics, are forecasting that inflation will get tamed next year. I think it will. But I think, as you see from this graph, it's not until 2025 that it gets below the 2% target. So I think we'll always have inflation for a while. It's been contained already. You can see it, can't you? People have stopped spending. House prices, they're not going down. They're just not being stupidly frothy. Optimistic estate agents trying to get another 20 grand on the property. People taking offers. That's what's happening at the moment. But prices are starting to sort of stall a bit. Petrol, oil, all those things are beginning to happen. Whether we'll see pump prices come down, but they'll contain inflation because they've increased interest rates. They've clamped down on the economic activity. We're in recession. Recessions always bring inflation down. But we'll see how that pans out. Now, of course, the big impact with that one, though, is interest rates, and that's the one, isn't it, that matters. Now, this graph here shows how the Bank of England base rate has changed since 2007. As you can see, 2007 we had like 5.5%, 6% bank base rate, went right the way down during the crash and trickled along at 0.5%, 0 point whatever percent, until very recently, where of course it's up down to the 3% mark. Probably go up again in December. Interest rates are containing or controlling inflation as much as possible, and that will clamp the economy. The economy is just being clamped completely. Because that's what they do when they increase interest rates. They're tightening things up. Confidence has gone. People aren't spending. They're putting off stuff now. They're putting off restaurant meals to a certain degree, depends where you are. So interest rates are trickling upwards. Will they stop going up? Nobody knows. But if they tame inflation, we're back to that inflation figure for you. If inflation can come down a little bit, maybe things start to look a bit better, then they're achieving their results, and therefore they may not need to increase rates by much more. But we'll see how things go. Then hopefully rates will start to come down again. But it'll take a little while before they do. Other things in recession, nasty thing, of course, is unemployment. This is a figure from the BBC again, Office of National Statistics. They're talking about unemployment peaking back up again to about the 6% mark in end of the year, Q4 25. I don't know, a couple of years of unemployment. You generally get it in a recession. What we'll find here is that zombie companies will start to go bust. We'll already start seeing a few, aren't we? Was it Made.com, that pandemic darling? That's gone tickety-boo bust, and there's obviously people been laid off there. Companies will start to shed staff because they will. Twitter's already doing it, isn't it? Elon Musk's already laying people off. So you'll start to see that a bit more now. So that'll cause issues, of course, with people. Will people's mortgages become unaffordable? I don't think so. I hope not. We'll see what the government can do to help, what lenders can do. But generally, economic activity starts to falter. So that's, if you like, a bit of a snapshot of the UK economy. As far as mortgage brokers, mortgage advisors are concerned, the buying and selling residential market will dampen. It will. There's a lot coming on the market at the moment, which is interesting. So supply is increasing slightly, demand is coming down. So of course that has an effect on prices, isn't it? Low demand, high supply, prices come down. So we might see a bit of a dip in prices. But I don't see a lot of activity in the buy and sell market. Wouldn't want to be an estate agency right now as my prime source of business. But most agents, of course, do lettings as well, so they get money in that way. Take a leaf out of their book. They've diversified, the good ones. When the resi market falls, they get the lettings market making profits for them as well. So as a mortgage advisor, make sure you diversify and look at other areas. We've got some exciting news for you about protection coming up at the end of this live stream. Ha! Do you like that, do you? Bit of an update for you. Now let's just take a look at something a little bit more heartwarming now. Let's give you a bit of a good news thing, which I read at the weekend. It just made me feel good, actually. I just want to give this to you for a couple of minutes, just to warm you up, really. I want to show you some pictures again. Back over to the slides. Let's pop me in as well so you can see me as well. Now, this is a heartwarming story for you from the newspapers of the weekend, which I read. And this is the clip here. So let's just zoom in so you can see this young lad here. Lovely young man here. He's from Ukraine and he lives in Scotland. And when he was in Ukraine before the war, he was a budding footballer. He's a really good football star. He got signed up with Lokomotiv Kiev, Dynamo Kiev. That's the club. But anyway, he finds himself in Scotland with an auntie, I believe. Anyway, the kid got spotted by some talent scouts. Here's the story for you. He's been signed to Dundee United's football club's academy. Stanislav, his name is. Lovely young man, living with his auntie there in Scotland. Anyway, he said, it's like Christmas Day, he says, I can play again, he told the BBC. And this is the lovely bit. If I stay in Scotland, I'll play for Dundee United, he said, because they help me, I'll help them to win the Scottish League. Doesn't that just make you feel great? Just makes you feel great. A lovely picture of the young lad here, looking really comfortable and happy. And he's been spotted by Dundee United. So any fans of Dundee United, let me know. Answers on a postcard. Not sure where you are in the Scottish Premiership. I'm sure you're doing very well. So that's the heartwarming story for you. Let's get on to something a little bit more serious, shall we? Now, the subject I want to talk about next is consumer duty. Now, you've probably heard of it. I'm sure you have heard of it because it's doing the rounds, isn't it? Now, consumer duty is the FCA's latest method, tactic, technique, culture change to change the culture again. We've had it before, it's not new. It used to be called Treating Customers Fairly, TCF, and that was around in 2006 and 7, just before the financial crash, actually, and the crash came along and kind of dampened it, really. And they've reignited it in different guises, and now Consumer Duty has a similar methodology behind it. And you've got to do some work, and I want to talk about what you need to be doing as an AR or directly authorized. As an AR, if you're an appointed representative, you basically do as you're told by your network or your principal. But if you're directly authorized, you do need to do a little bit of work on this one. And it's right anyway. You should be doing it anyway without any issue whatsoever. So let's just have a quick deep dive into, just to remind you deeply into what is the consumer duty. And let's not get overtaken by all these consultants on LinkedIn who are telling you to do tons and tons and tons of things. You don't need to do a huge amount because you should be doing it anyway. So let's not get overtaken by that industry making work for itself, because that's what they'll be doing. So, hey, let's just whiz over and take a look at the FCA then. Let's talk about the FCA's issues here. So, FCA's consumer duty is where we're coming from. Just give you a quick update on this one, just to show you just to remind you, if you like. And this is a leaflet or PDF that I got from the FCA's website, which is really good on the consumer duty. So it talks about raising the standard of consumer protection, which is absolutely paramount. It's what we should be doing anyway. If you're professional, and all of you are, we're all about clients. We're all about making sure they're looked after. Because if you don't look after your clients, they won't come back to you, and you won't make a business out of it. You won't make a living out of it. We all talk about consumer outcomes, the best outcome. I think there's a bit jargony in it. Don't say that to clients. I'm going to give you the best outcome. It sounds awful, doesn't it? Use normal language with clients, for goodness sake. But we've got this compliance talk, it's for internal stuff. So let's dive into the 4 key areas from this handout that I got for you. Now, the first one, just move over the top here, is consumers need to be equipped to make effective decisions. That's one of the main principles here. We need to get information to the consumers in the right time, in the right way, so they can understand. And modern consumers are good at research. And young people especially will do their research, will find out what's going on, and they will want to know that. So, provide lots of information, lots of details about what it is, so they can make their own decisions. They are equipped, and they should be equipped to make effective decisions. So that's a good principle to have, I think. Products and services give fair value. Now, lenders and providers, they have to sort this out themselves. And they've always had to try and sort this out, particularly some of the insurance companies that make things very complicated, and they don't need to, really. It needs to be simple. Firms sell products or services at a fair price that reflects their benefits. Consumers are protected against unreasonably high fees and charges. That's the one that a few client firms will need to be looking at. Some of the wealth advisors, some of the funds under management fees are being looked at right now. Your fee for arranging the mortgage, okay, if you charge like £20,000, you might need to look at that. But if you're charging a fair fee for the value you give, then that's fine. You just need to justify the value. And if you can't justify the value, you probably can't sell the fee. You need to be able to do this with clients when you first meet them anyway. So that's something you'll need to be thinking about. The costs of the product, of course, come into it, but that's down to the lenders to price themselves fairly. So think about your costs, etc., that come into it. Helpful customer services, responsible, accessible consumer support, easy to switch, cancel, complain. Again, that's very much down to the provider, isn't it? Products and services fit for purpose. Again, your service needs to be working as expected. So you provide a service, don't you, as a mortgage advisor? But again, it's the product providers and the insurers that need to make sure the features of the product match what consumers are looking for. So they need to be. They've had to do that since 2006. Treating customers fairly said the same thing. For those of you who've been in the industry for a few years, they're just repeating themselves on this one to a certain degree. Got a very useful handout came through actually from a network which I picked up last week, which summarises what you have to do quite nicely. So I'm just going to confirm that to you. That the brochure says, "Are you ready for the FCA's consumer duty deadlines? Final deadline July 23." They're all at it, you see. They're trying to get you really nervous about deadlines. Everybody loves a deadline, don't they? But I did like this because it had a step-by-step checklist. Obviously, read the policy statement on the FCA's website. Now, here's the best bit here. Prepare your implementation plan and have it signed off at board level by the end of October. Missed that one. The plan should document how you will oversee and deliver consumer duty. And you do need to think about this because if you're directly authorised with the FCA, and a lot of you are, you need to be able to do this. Obviously, as an appointed representative, your principal or your network will be doing this for you, and you'll just have to do as you're told. So that's something to think about. So you need to review your end-to-end customer experience. I think that's the sales process, isn't it? What routes do your customers go through? The customer's experience. Have a review of it to see that it's smooth, customers are kept informed, and you're adhering to the duty. Again, you should do that anyway. That's good business practice, particularly with the recession coming in. You need to look after your customers properly. Review your approach to communications is the next one. So do you communicate with your customers in the right manner? What methods do you use? Do you just use the phone, or do you use emails, WhatsApps, messaging systems? Again, it should be modern, fit for purpose, and consumers need to be communicated all the way through. So just review how you talk to people. And you should be doing that anyway. It's a good system to do that one. Moving up. Review your provider panel and products. Again, if you whole of market, you'll be doing that anyway. Whether you have a panel or you are whole of market, your sourcing engine, your sourcing software will do a lot of that for you. But take a look at the product providers. If you don't think their products are right, you wouldn't recommend them anyway. Your sourcing, your best advice software wouldn't allow for that. So you do need to take a look at that as well. Conduct a fair value assessment. Now, what are you charging for your services? Is it fair? I'm not saying cheap. Don't go there with that one. I remember one mortgage broker I was talking to, and she was so upset she was charging £249 fee for her mortgage advice service. Obviously, she takes a proc fee as well. I mean, 250 quid's not a lot of money. It's quite cheap, actually. But it's fair value. It's what do you provide for that? Again, you need to outline that in your 15-minute discovery call anyway. You need to sell the fee. The client needs to agree to it and understand what you're doing for it. So make sure that you'll have a fair value assessment. If you're into the wealth advising world, then you'll need to look at things very differently because you're very much fee-based, and maybe funds under management fees as well. And finally, prepare for your reporting requirements. There's always reporting to do for the FCA. Check your tech, because that does a lot of the reporting now. So I quite like that. Nice little sort of just a summary of what's needed. And that's the final deadline by 31st of July 2023. So that's quite useful information to help you. So that's consumer duty, really. Just makes you think about what you need to be doing. Personally, I think we should be doing all it anyway. I think also it's not a lot different to what they did in treating customers fairly. They've been at this for the last 14, 15 years, 16 years. Ironically, oddly enough, the last time they introduced it, 2006-07, we had the financial crash, didn't we, which mucked everything up. They've introduced it this year. We've got the Great Recession, so maybe they'll miss out on seeing that coming through. but that's our beloved regulator for you. Anyway, enough of that. Let's move away from that topic. All right. I hope everybody is well. I hope you enjoyed our lunchtime live stream so far. Just a bit of an update for you, really. A few things on consumer duty, which we need to understand those things. It's all good CPD, isn't it? So we did some work on the economic outlook as well. Just before we go, just a quick pitch to something we're doing on the 3rd of December. Now, I have a lot of corporate clients who are insurance companies, and I work with their BDMs to help them to sell insurance policies and products to advisors, intermediaries. And many advisors are now thinking about protection more than ever before. They're migrating across to protection more and more now to make some commissions. With the resi market falling, protection is a great way of earning some more money. So we've introduced a free webinar at the beginning of December, which will help mortgage advisors to upskill themselves, to get themselves a bit more cutting edge when it comes to protection. It's free, so that's nice, isn't it? We like all that. But obviously we keep in touch with you about some of the other products that we sell on protections. That's why we're doing it. We'll talk to you about our boot camps and stuff. But the actual webinar is actually free. So let me share with you what I've got planned for you, because you might actually want to come along and attend. You never know, do you? So let's just pick up the Protection Opportunities webinar, as we like to call it. So let's just pop in and just share this with you for a couple of minutes. I'm very excited about this, and here's the logo we got. Protection Opportunities for Mortgage Advisors. How to supplement your fee income. That's really the message. You've got good income from various sources, but you might be looking at next year, maybe diversifying, supplementing your income through protection. And a lot of people are talking about this right now. A lot of people are teaching you skills and that kind of stuff, and a bit more technical. But I'm going to put my business hat on here and show you how you can make some money from this. But obviously, looking after your customers. And there's the date. So we've got a number of outcomes I want to achieve from this free webinar. It's 45 minutes. First of all, I'm going to take a look at your ideal sales process for mortgages that allows you to seamlessly advise protection during the mortgage fact find. A lot of people are doing this already. Some haven't because they've been so busy doing mortgages. So I'm going to show you how you can seamlessly integrate this in a sales process, which comes from best practice across the industry. How to sell income protection before the mortgage completes. IPP, income protection, PHI, call it what you like. Often not sold, not advised. Doesn't really have a connection with mortgages. So we'll show you how you can actually advise this and sell it before the customer's even gone into the house purchase process, because people should have that as well. This one here, how to fix a mortgage MOT with existing clients, where you'll also chat about protection. Now we call it a mortgage MOT. My car's in for a service on Friday and it's MOT, not because it's broken down, but because it needs to be checked. So we're promoting that you contact all of your clients and organise a mortgage MOT with them. It's quite a nice ring to it, really, isn't it? And during that mortgage MOT, what do you say? How do you introduce protection? And introduce protection, maybe even if you didn't mention it when you first did their mortgage. So that's a key one for you as well now. This one here for you. How to appeal to people's emotions about minding the gap. So there's a bit of sales technique here for you, a bit of psychology. How do you get people to emotionally buy into the fact that they do have a protection gap? So there's a bit of an update there for you. What to do to avoid your clients going online to arrange it for themselves, because people want the cheapest, don't they? At the moment, everything's all about cheap, 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 isn't it? Recession. So what can you do to make sure they don't go online to buy it themselves? So a little bit of objection handling there, or preempting objections. That's a really important one as well. What types of protection might suit small business clients as well? Have a look at that area for you. You might have owner-directors, limited company owners. What type of protection would work for those people more than just your standard income protection or life assurance? So I will introduce you back to that topic. And the final area for you is I want to make sure that we have some time-saving tricks and apps available from providers, because there's some good stuff that providers do for you, or some time-saving ideas. So as you can appreciate, it'll be 45 minutes of key information, ideas to help you grow your business in protection. It's not a sales pitch webinar. I might at the end of it talk to you about our protection exam bootcamp. if you want to update your knowledge a little bit, because you probably will do when we start talking about business protection especially. You might want to do that. So we'll have a little chat at the end for a couple of minutes. It's been recorded. We're asking that you register. If you register, you get reminded, which is nice, and you get a copy of the recording afterwards. So it's all good stuff as well, isn't it? Now, to register, I will put the link in the comments box below. So have a look below to have a look at the registration. You can come on there and register and get yourself involved. So looking forward to that. I think that will be a good thing for you just before Christmas. Nice little Christmas present from us. Hope you enjoy that. There you go. That was a little pitch there for you on our protection webinar, but it's free, so why can't you pitch free things? It's all good stuff as well. It's quality training that we provide advisors and corporate sales teams, advisory teams as well. So I think you'll benefit from much of that as well. Oh, we forgot to go on here, haven't we? Ta-da! Hope everyone's well. Hope you're good. Hope you're enjoying the autumn. Still very mild out there, isn't it? But I hear from the weatherman that the temperature is going to start plunging shortly. So we need to get our central heating on and all those horrible things. Hope you enjoy yourself this week. Remember to think about next year. The economic outlook, it's not doom and gloom. Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's not like, locust infestation and everyone's going to die overnight. These things happen, recessions. This is not a massive deep one. It's a long one. It will have negligible economic growth for a couple of years, as the Bank of England quite rightly said, because we have what's called stagflation. Stagflation is inflation, high inflation, and a stagnating economy. In other words, an economy that's not growing, maybe dipping a little bit. So they're fighting inflation with things like high interest rates, which dampen economies. You see why it's going to last for a couple of years. It's not going to be a nightmare one, but it will affect lots of people. So you need to make sure your business is robust. You can diversify and look at all sorts of areas to keep those incomes coming in. Anyway, enough of that message. I'll see you all again next week. Bye from me. See you soon.